24-second shot clock. Before the rule existed, teams could just hold the ball for the whole game if they wanted. Back in the early 1950s, games were slow, scoring was low, and fans were bored out of their minds. One game ended 19-18. People paid money to watch that. Teams stalled so hard that overtime looked like a nap. So the league needed a fix. That's when Danny Biasone and Leo Ferris showed up with a calculator and a dream. They figured if teams took about 60 shots each, that made 120 total. Divide that into a full game and boom, 24 seconds per possession. They literally did the math and made the clock. It started in 1954. Now, if you don't shoot in time, you lose the ball. No more standing around. It forced teams to run plays, move the ball, and actually try to score. The defense had to work faster too. Games got more exciting right away. Then in 2018, they added the 14-second reset after offensive rebounds to keep things fast. The shot clocks even changed how the thing looks. Transparent panels, synced clocks, tenths of seconds, all to make sure time's tight. The shot clock didn't just change rules, it changed the game. Lane widening. Back when the lane was just 6 feet wide, dominant centers basically set up camp right next to the rim and dared anyone to stop them. George Mikan made the most of that setup. So in the 1951 season, the NBA doubled the lane width to 12 feet. That meant big men had to operate farther from the basket, giving defenders a fighting chance and forcing post players to add some actual footwork. Then came Wilt Chamberlain, still dominating inside, still living in the paint. So in the 1964 season, the NBA widened it again, this time to 16 feet. That change stuck, and the modern NBA still uses it today. The goal? Make it harder for centers to just stand under the rim and score at will. And it worked. Bigs had to move more, defend more space, and learn to create shots from farther out. Widening the lane also helped open up offenses. It gave slashers more room to cut, gave shooters more space, and made defense more dynamic. International leagues eventually followed, switching to the 16-foot rectangular lane too. So the paint, once a cozy home for giants, turned into a battleground that demanded skill, not just size. Three-point line. Before the three-pointer, basketball was a two-point world. Long shots got you nothing extra, which made perimeter players less valuable. That changed when the ABA introduced the three-point shot in the late 60s. It wasn't just about scoring. It stretched the defense, gave shooters more purpose, and made the game way more dynamic. The NBA didn't bring it in until the 1979 season, and even then, it was just a one-year test. Teams barely used it. It took time for people to realize it wasn't just for last-second prayer. In the mid-90s, the league shortened the line to 22 feet everywhere, hoping to boost scoring. It worked. Attempts and percentages spiked, but by 97, the line returned to its original setup, 23 feet, 9 inches at the top, and 22 in the corners. Since then, the shots exploded. Analytics helped teams realize that even a 35% shooter from three is more valuable than a 50% shooter from mid-range. The corner three, shorter and deadly. Bigs now stretch the floor, guards pull up from deep, and defenses are stretched to their breaking point. It's redefined what matters in the game. Spacing, timing, and shooting rule the court. Shout out Steph Curry. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, high school to NBA ban. When the league first started, players had to wait 4 years after high school before entering the draft. That meant no one could jump straight in. But in 1971, Spencer Haywood challenged that rule in court and won. The NBA then created a hardship exception, letting players with financial need enter early. That opened the door for high school stars like Darryl Dawkins and Bill Willoughby in 1975. Through the 90s and early 2000s, skipping college became normal for elite talent. Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and LeBron James all made the leap. But by 2005, the NBA and Players Union agreed on a new rule. Players had to be 19 and at least 1 year out of high school to be draft eligible. The 2006 draft was the first under that system, starting the one-and-done era. The idea was that extra year would help players mature and make scouting more reliable. Some think it protects the league's image. Others call it unfair labor control. Since then, top prospects have taken alternate routes, like the G League or overseas play. The rule changed how talent flows into the league, and it's still debated today. Trent Tucker rule. Back in January of 1990, the Knicks beat the Bulls on a wild buzzer beater. The issue? Trent Tucker caught an inbound pass with only 0.1 seconds left, turned, and somehow got off a three-point shot before the buzzer. It counted. Chicago protested, saying it's physically impossible to catch and shoot that fast. The league didn't overturn the result, but they changed the rulebook. Starting in the 1991 season, the NBA made it official. If there's less than 0.3 seconds on the clock, players can't catch and shoot. The only legal shot with that little time is a tip-in or lob. No full possession, no turn and fire. That .3 cutoff became standard because reaction time and motion make anything quicker, unrealistic in-game. Even with clock tenths displayed, the league wanted a clear boundary to avoid future drama. The rule's been used at every level: NBA, WNBA, FIBA, even high school. Coaches now design special lob plays for those split-second endings. You'll never see a catch and shoot with .1 on the clock anymore, and that's because of the Trent Tucker rule. It closed a loophole and brought clarity to the final seconds. That used to be a free-for-all hand-checking rule. In the NBA's early years, defenders could stick a hand on you and guide your body like a GPS with bad intentions. That kind of contact, forearms, hands, bumps, was allowed, especially on the perimeter. Guards had to fight through a full-body wrestling match every possession. That started to change in the mid-90s. In the 1994 season, hand-checking was banned in the backcourt. By 98, defenders couldn't even use their forearms against a ball handler who faced the basket. The real shift came in the 2004 season. Hand-checking on the perimeter was banned outright. That meant no more using the offhand to steer, slow, or block slashers. The results were immediate. Scoring jumped. So did spacing. Offensive players had more room to breathe and way more freedom to drive. The league wanted pace, flow, and highlight plays, and they got them. Defenders had to adapt. No more armbar. Now it's all footwork, anticipation, and verticality. The era of brute force on the perimeter was done. This rule helped unlock faster guards, dead-eye shooters, and the rise of high-volume pick and rolls. It reshaped offense, defense, and how teams build rosters. And honestly, it changed what modern basketball even looks like. Coaches challenge. The NBA introduced it in the 2019 season as a trial, and it became permanent a year later. Coaches can only challenge 3 things: personal fouls on their own players, out-of-bounds violations, and goaltending or basket interference. That's it. No challenging traveling. No arguing about non-calls. To even use a challenge, a team has to call timeout. If the challenge works, they keep the timeout. If not, they lose it. But starting in 2023, if the first challenge is successful, teams now get a second one. The twist? Even if they win the second, they don't keep the timeout. Originally, challenges were one and done, but after seeing a 44% overturn rate, the league expanded it. And just recently, they added a new twist. Coaches can now challenge out-of-bounds plays that involve a missed foul, as long as it's directly related to the possession. Challenges add strategy, but also slow things down. Some coaches hold them too long, others use them too early and regret it. The system has grown, but it's still limited. Only certain plays can be challenged, and not everything is reviewable. Still, it gives coaches a little power, and sometimes that's all they need. Zone defense. For decades, it was banned in the NBA. Starting in 1947, the league wanted every defender assigned to a man, not a space. That meant no classic 2-3 zones, no collapsing paint walls, and no bigs just camping in the lane. Instead, defenders had to stick to their matchups or face an illegal defense call. But in 2001, everything changed. The league eliminated illegal defense rules and officially allowed zone. To keep things from going full turtle shell, they added a new restriction, the defensive 3-second violation. If a defender stood in the paint for more than 3 seconds without guarding someone, it was a tech. That rule was designed to stop centers from just living under the rim like trolls guarding a bridge. With zones now legal, teams could finally use hybrid schemes, help-heavy looks, traps, matchup zones, box-and-one chaos, all fair game. Offenses had to adapt too. More passing, more shooting, more ways to crack gaps in the coverage. It didn't create a wave of full-time zones, but it reshaped strategy. Dominant post players couldn't just seal deep anymore. Teams leaned harder into spacing, perimeter shooting, and pick and rolls. The zone era began. Not loud, but loud enough to change the modern game. First round series changed. From 1984 to 2002, the NBA's first round was best of 5. Win 3, you're through. It made the opening round shorter, riskier, and more chaotic. Upsets happened. Fewer games meant less room for error or recovery. Then in 2003, the league flipped the switch. The first round became best of 7, just like the rest. Now teams had to win 4 to advance. The reason? More fairness, less randomness, and, surprise, more money. More games meant more tickets, more ads, more airtime. And yes, it gave higher seeds more protection. From 1995 to 2002, top seeds won about 76% of first-round matchups. After the change, that ticked up to around 81%, not huge, but enough to notice. The change also opened the door for Game 7s in Round 1. More drama, more tension, and more basketball, but it made the playoffs longer. More travel, more rest days, and more wear on players. Some fans argue it should have stayed at 5 games to cut fatigue and move things along. Still, since 2003, every playoff team knows the road starts with 7. There's more room to prove you're better or to blow it over time. Hack-a-Shaq. This thing turned from a clever loophole into a league-wide headache. Before it got a name, intentional fouls were mostly for stopping the clock late in game. But when Don Nelson decided to use it against Dennis Rodman and later Shaq, it became a full-blown strategy. Coaches figured, if you send someone like Shaq to the line where he hit barely over 50%, it's better than giving up easy dunks in the paint. The math checked out, barely. 2 shots at 50%, that's just 1 point. So yeah, it disrupted rhythm, drained momentum, and slowed everything down. But it came with problems. Players could foul out quickly, games got longer, and fans weren't exactly thrilled watching brickfests from the line. Then there were guys like DeAndre Jordan, Dwight, and Drummond, walking targets for this thing. One game, Drummond missed 23 free throws. 23. Eventually, the league had enough. In 2016, they tweaked the rule. Last 2 minutes of any quarter, off-ball fouls, gave free throws and the ball. That killed the late-game abuse. But the strategy still shows up now and then. It's one of the few tactics that forced rule changes, proving teams will stretch anything, even foul rules, to win. And to make things even better, I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, the go-to app for every basketball fan who loves being part of the action. The season's heating up, and there's no better time to jump in. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. That means you can watch every dunk, block, and buzzer beater while your bets play out live. Again, new customers bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass on us, and $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Just sign up with promo code HOOPSEXPLAINED. Claim the offer. And if you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has you covered. Bet on player props and in-progress games as they happen. Want an even bigger payout? Try same-game parlays and stack those picks. So what are you waiting for? Download DraftKings Sportsbook, sign up using promo code HOOPSEXPLAINED, and let the games begin. The crown is yours. NBA draft lottery reforms. Back before 1985, the worst team just picked first. That simple setup made tanking way too easy, so the league added the lottery to shake things up. At first, it gave every non-playoff team the same odds, but that didn't last. They kept tweaking it. By 1993, the worst team had a 1 in 4 shot at the top pick, but teams still kept tanking. So by 2017, the league had seen enough. They approved a major update that kicked in for the 2019 draft. Now the 3 worst teams all have the same odds for the number 1 pick. That totally flattened the gap between finishing dead last and just bad. The top 4 picks are now determined by lottery instead of only the top 3, and the worst team can't fall lower than 5th. That sounds fair, but critics say it's still not enough. Since the change, no worst team has actually landed the top pick. Some want even more flattening. Others say give every lottery team the same odds. One wild idea even involves a tournament for draft position. The current format helps a bit, but randomness, transparency, and tanking. Debates aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Goaltending. Back in the early days, nobody thought players could block a shot after it reached its peak, so there wasn't even a rule for it. Then guys like Bob Kurland and George Mikan came along, towering over everyone and swatting shots that were clearly on their way in. That's when goaltending had to be invented. The NCAA made it official in 1944, and the NBA eventually followed with its own version. In the NBA today, goaltending happens when a defender touches the ball on its way down toward the hoop, after it hits the backboard while still heading up, or while it's sitting above the rim inside the invisible cylinder. If the shot had a chance to go in and the defender messes with it, points get awarded like the shot actually went in. No need to guess. The ref just signals the bucket and it counts. There's also a rule against trapping the ball on the backboard or shaking the rim to change the bounce. Even touching the net when the ball is in the net can get flagged. Shot blockers have to be precise. Jump too late and it's a goaltend. This rule keeps defense from erasing every good shot and forces timing over raw side, take foul. This rule came in to stop defenders from ruining fast breaks by fouling with zero effort to play the ball. Starting in the 2022 season, the NBA had enough of guys just wrapping up ball handlers right after a turnover to avoid giving up an easy layup. That tactic slowed the game down and killed a lot of fun transition moments. Now, when a take foul happens, meaning a foul in transition without a real play on the ball, the offense gets 1 free throw. taken by anyone on the floor, plus the ball back. That's a big swing, especially compared to a regular foul that just results in an inbound. This doesn't apply in the final 2 minutes or overtime, which has sparked some complaints, but the idea was to push defenders to actually try for steals or blocks instead of stopping the play dead. It's different from a clear path foul, which still gets 2 free throws in possession, but this new take foul rule targets those sneaky, tactical reach-ins that never had a chance. Some say the rule's a little too subjective. Was it a real play on the ball or not? But overall, it's pushed the game toward more exciting transition play and made defenders think twice. 8-second backcourt rule. Once a team gains control in the backcourt, they've got 8 seconds to get the ball across midcourt. If they don't, turnover. No argument, no excuses, just a handoff to the other team at the half-court line. This wasn't always the case. For decades, teams had 10 seconds to advance the ball, which gave them time to slowly dribble up and take their sweet time. But in 2001, the NBA decided enough was enough. They cut the window to 8 seconds to speed things up, push teams into action, and open up the game. It was part of a larger overhaul that also included changes to defense rules, all designed to boost tempo and scoring. Now, the 8-second count starts the moment a team gains full possession. If the defense fouls or kicks the ball, the count resets. If they don't, and the offense hesitates too long, it's a violation. The shot clock doesn't affect it, and refs don't use it as an official count. It's all about the stopwatch in their head. This rule has added urgency, given defenses more power to press, and helped eliminate stalling. It's simple, but powerful, and it keeps the ball moving in today's fast-paced game. Play-in tournament. This thing started as a temporary fix during the 2020 bubble, but turned into a permanent fixture by 2022. It gives teams finishing 7th through 10th in each conference a shot at grabbing the last 2 playoff spots. The top 6, they're safe. Everyone else, gotta fight for it. Here's how it works. The 7th and 8th seeds play each other. The winner gets the 7th playoff spot. The 9th and 10th seeds play too, but loser goes home. Winner of that game faces the loser of the 7-8 matchup, and whoever wins that last game grabs the 8th seed. It's quick, intense, and high pressure. Unlike normal playoff series, this is 1 or 2 games. Mess up once, and it could be over. The goal was to add urgency, stop teams from tanking, and make more late season games matter. And honestly, it worked. Now teams care about getting at least to 10th. There are downsides. Some say it's unfair to make the 8th seed risk their spot after grinding all season. Others think it rewards mediocrity, but it's created chaos, buzzer beaters, and momentum shifts. The Miami Heat even went from the play-in to the finals. So yeah, this little tournament changed the whole playoff picture. 3-second violation. This one quietly shapes how the paint is played, even if it doesn't grab headlines. The offensive version came first, in 1936, so players couldn't just post up and live in the key. If an offensive player stands in the paint for more than 3 seconds while their team has control in the front court, it's a turnover. The count pauses if they're actively moving toward the basket, shooting, or about to leave. But if they just stand there, violation. Then came the defensive version, which only exists in the NBA. When the league legalized zone defense in 2001, they added the defensive 3-second rule to stop bigs from just camping in the paint all game. If a defender stays in the key for more than 3 seconds without actively guarding someone, it's a technical foul. 1 free throw, and the ball stays with the offense. To stay legal, defenders have to either guard someone within arm's length or exit the paint entirely. In theory, it opens the floor and keeps rim protectors moving. In practice, it's one of the most inconsistently called violations in the league, especially in crunch time. Refs often let it slide, but when it's enforced, it totally changes how teams defend the lane. Clear path foul. This one kicks in when a defender fouls during a fast break and there's no one left between the ball handler and the basket. It's not just a tactical stop. It's treated like a blown opportunity to score, and the NBA punishes it accordingly. For a clear path foul to be called, a few things have to line up. The offensive player needs to be in control of the ball, past midcourt, and with no defender ahead of him. If he's about to score and gets fouled from behind, that's when the whistle turns costly. The offensive team gets 2 free throws and keeps the ball. It's a big swing. This rule got cleaner over time. The NBA added stricter definitions to reduce guesswork. Referees now look at ball position, defender alignment, and control. It's also reviewable, unlike a take foul. If the refs initially missed the call, they can go back and upgrade it. Clear path overrides. Take foul when both could apply, and the penalties are steeper. 2 shots instead of 1, but it's not without drama. Some fans say it slows the game down or gets triggered on soft contact. Still, in a tight game, a clear path call can flip momentum fast and punish lazy transition defense. Positionless All-NBA teams. The days of needing 2 guards, 2 forwards, and 1 center, gone. Since the 2023 collective bargaining agreement, All-NBA is officially positionless. Voters now just choose the top 15 players, and the 5 with the most points make first team. No need to squeeze players into arbitrary spots. If 5 bigs dominate the year, 5 bigs can make it. It's based on performance, not positional quotas. This isn't totally new. Back in the late 1940s and early 50s, All-NBA was already positionless. But from 1956 through 2023, the ballot followed the rigid 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 center formula. That led to messy debates and weird votes, especially when multiple superstars played the same position. Now, it's all about who's the best, period. Of course, players have to meet the new 65-game minimum to be eligible, unless they qualify under the injury exception. So if someone dominates for 60 games, sorry, they're out. The change fixes some old problems, like MVP-level players missing first team because of positional logjams, but it also brings new ones. All NBA teams now look less like real basketball lineups and more like who got the most votes. Still, it's a clearer reflection of how the modern game actually works. Offensive goaltending. This rule exists to stop players on offense from messing with the ball when it's too close to going in. Specifically, if a player touches the ball while it's on or above the rim or still within that invisible cylinder above the basket, it's a violation. That includes tapping in a shot while it's rolling on the rim or grabbing the rim to tip the ball in. Doesn't matter if it's a light touch or a full volleyball spike. If the ball's still in the danger zone, you can't touch it. The rule goes back to 1956, mostly to keep towering players from just living near the rim and swatting or stuffing shots in whenever they felt like it. That era saw bigs like Wilt Chamberlain force rule changes just by existing. Today, offensive interference is rare, mostly because players know not to mess around above the rim unless they're dunking, which is one of the few exceptions. If the violation's called, the basket doesn't count, and the ball goes to the defense. In tight games, it can flip the momentum. And even though replay is allowed in the last 2 minutes, if refs don't call it live, it can't be reviewed. Timing, angle, and discipline all matter here. Advance the ball. Timeout rule. In the final 2 minutes of the 4th quarter or overtime, NBA teams get a special privilege. If they call a timeout while the ball is in the backcourt, they can choose to inbound the ball from the front court, basically skipping the 8-second backcourt rule and setting up a quick scoring opportunity. It's one of the few times in basketball where geography literally changes because of a timeout. This rule doesn't apply earlier in the game. If you call a timeout with the ball in the backcourt at say 3 minutes left, you're inbounding from the backcourt. But once that clock hits under 2, everything changes. The idea is to make late game situations more exciting and strategic. Give teams a real shot to draw something up and go for the win. The shot clock stays the same unless it's below 14, in which case it resets to 14 seconds. And yes, this only works in the NBA. FIBA, NCAA, and most other leagues don't allow you to leapfrog half the court just because you called timeout. Used right, this rule can flip the final seconds of a game. And used wrong, you're just handing the ball over, closer to the defense. 5-second back to basket. Before this rule existed, players, especially bigger ones, could just camp out in the post, endlessly backing down defenders like a slow-motion bulldozer. It slowed the game and gave the defense way too little room to work with. The league eventually had enough of that and introduced the rule in 1999. The idea was to force more pace, more ball movement, and less of those long, isolation-style possessions that bored everyone except the guy dribbling. Now, if a player is in the front court, below the free throw line extended, and starts backing down with the dribble, they've got 5 seconds. If they don't pass, shoot, or at least pick up the dribble, the whistle blows. That ball goes to the other team right at the sideline. The count cuts off if they stop dribbling, if they cross above the free throw line, or if the ball gets tipped. The nickname Charles Barkley Rule stuck around for a reason. He and Mark Jackson really leaned into this style. These days, though, you rarely see it called. Refs usually let it slide unless someone really tests the clock, but players still know it's there, and it changes how long they're willing to post up before making a move. Bird rights. This is one of the NBA's sneakiest tools for building a roster without blowing up the salary cap. A team can re-sign its own free agent even if it's already over the cap, thanks to this rule. That's why players with bird rights are worth more to the teams they've played for. If a player stays with a team for 3 straight years without being waived or switching in free agency, he earns full bird rights. That lets the team offer a contract up to the maximum salary for up to 5 years. There are also early bird and non-bird rights, which kick in if a player has 2 years or fewer, with more limits on contract size. Bird rights follow a player if he's traded, but they reset if he signs somewhere new or gets waived and clears waivers. Teams can renounce those rights, but once they do, they're gone. These rights help teams sign their own guys after using cap space elsewhere, giving them way more flexibility. That's part of why the NBA has a soft cap. Bird rights are basically why teams can keep their cores together and go into the luxury tax without needing to start over every time a big contract is due. Shot clock reset to 14 seconds on offensive rebounds. Before this change, teams got a full 24 seconds after grabbing an offensive board. That meant they could reset the offense completely and run clock, especially late in tight games. In 2018, the league chopped that down to 14 seconds. Now, if a team grabs a rebound off a missed shot that hits the rim, they only get 14 seconds to work with. If the clock already shows more than 14, it stays as is. This tweak only kicks in when the shot touches the rim. No rim, no reset. It also applies after a loose ball foul or when the ball goes out off the defense, but only in the front court. The whole point? Faster pace, more possessions, less dragging through possessions after a board. The G League, WNBA, and FIBA were already doing it, so the NBA followed suit. Most teams already shot quickly off offensive rebounds anyway, so the impact was more about stopping late game stalling. Coaches have had to adjust. You cannot spend 10 seconds setting up anymore. Critics say it lowers the value of offensive rebounds, and some think 14 is too short. But the rules stuck, and it's quietly changed how teams handle second chance opportunities. Restricted area, this arc underneath the basket, changes everything when it comes to drawing charges. If a helped defender's feet are inside that arc, when contact happens, it's not a charge. It's usually a blocking foul, but it doesn't apply to the primary defender, the one guarding the offensive player from the start. That guy can still draw a charge, even under the rim. The rule's been around since the late 90s, but it's gotten sharper over time. The league even uses replay in the final 2 minutes to see if a defender's inside the arc. The arc itself is 4 feet from the center of the basket, and it only applies in front, not along the baseline behind the hoop. The restricted area helps protect players who are attacking the rim at full speed. Without it, defenders could just camp under the basket and fall over anytime someone drove in. Now, help defenders need to be smart. They've got to rotate earlier or stay vertical. If a guy goes straight up with his arms and doesn't lean or slide, he might still avoid the foul, even inside the arc. It's changed how teams defend. No more easy bailout charges under the rim. Offenses get cleaner looks, and defenders have to adapt fast. Replay Center. Before the NBA built a replay hub, referees had to rely on broadcast trucks and arena feeds to get video angles. It was clunky, inconsistent, and slowed everything down. So, the league spent around $15 million to set up a centralized system. It launched in Secaucus, New Jersey, at the start of the 2014 season. This center pulls in dozens of camera feeds from every game in real time. Operators assigned to each matchup flag moments and prep angles. There's also a referee at the center who works with the on-court crew during reviews. When something is triggered, like a buzzer beater or a close out-of-bounds call, the replay center sends clips to the refs fast. In simple cases, the refs don't even need to check the monitors. In its first year, the center handled over 2,000 reviews, averaging 42 seconds per review. About 1 in 5 calls were overturned. The biggest upside? Faster decisions and better angles. But it's not perfect. The center can't start reviews on its own. That power still belongs to the referees on the court. Some reviews still drag on too long, and there's ongoing debate about giving the center more control to speed things up even more. Two-way contract. These deals let a player split time between an NBA team and its G League affiliate without taking one of the 15 standard roster spots. They're only for players with 4 or fewer years in the league. Teams can now have 3 of them. It's a way to keep young talent close without giving up a main roster slot. A two-way player can be active for up to 50 NBA games. They're paid based on how many days they spend with the NBA team, and the salary is about half the rookie minimum. Back when this started in 2017, teams only got 2 slots, and players could only be with the NBA club for 45 days. That's since changed. They can be promoted to a full NBA contract, but they're not automatically playoff eligible. If a team wants to use them in the postseason, they've got to convert that deal. And while they can be traded, they can't be dealt within 30 days of signing. For teams, these are low-risk ways to develop undrafted players or late bloomers. It's also a smart cap move since the deals don't count against the salary cap. That makes it easier to build depth without clogging up the books or the roster, Stepien rule. This one's named after Ted Stepien, the former Cavaliers owner who casually traded away Cleveland's first-round picks for 5 straight years in the early 80s. The league watched that chaos unfold and said never again. So now, teams aren't allowed to trade away first-rounders in consecutive future drafts. That's the core of the rule. Don't strip your team of long-term assets 2 years in a row. Here's how it works. If a team trades its 20, 25, first-round pick, it can't also trade the 2026 pick unless it acquires another first-rounder for one of those years. Any first-round pick counts. It doesn't have to be their own. So if they get someone else's pick for one of those years, they're good. There's another wrinkle. If a traded pick is protected and might not convey, that uncertainty can block another trade. Because if it rolls over, you might end up pickless 2 years in a row. That's a no-go. Teams use pick swaps or draft day trades to sneak around the edge cases. But the main idea stands. The rule forces front offices to keep at least one first-round pick every other year. It's all about protecting teams from self-inflicted disasters, even if they don't realize they're doing it. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.